Ladies and gentlemen, this would be the first time since 1980, since the Miracle on Ice, since Lake Placid, that Team USA will have won a gold medal. This Team USA is primed to make a gold medal run. Canada stands in their way with Connor McDavid, but ladies and gentlemen, this team is willing to go the distance. This team almost got and went the distance in the Four Nations a year ago. But this team, they've got a chip on their shoulder. This team is ready to go the distance. They are ready to win gold. I am absolutely fired up for the Winter Olympics, and especially hockey with the United States of America. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the Daily Ham. Here on the Hammy Show, I'm your host, Hammy Culpepper, and we are, of course, presented by First American Bank and Trust. They are the best people in the entire world when dealing with your money, whether you want to open an account, get a loan, you're financing a car, a house, whatever it may be. First American Bank and Trust is always there for you. I keep saying this, the people are what make that place so special, so perfect, and we would not be here without First American Bank and Trust. First of all, for presenting our show, but second of all, just because they help me day in and day out with my money, with this show, and like I said, we wouldn't be here without them, so huge shout out to First American. Once again, this is the Daily Ham here on the Hammy Show. I am your host, Hammy Culpepper, and guys, we've got a big one today. We're talking all sports. We're going around the horn, talking everything that is happening in this world of sports today. Craziness around the world. First off, the NFL. We got to start there. It is Super Bowl week after all. And Seahawks-Patriots meet on Sunday. We've got a big preview show we're recording tomorrow to put out on Thursday morning. So stay tuned for that. Me, Jack Wright, a good buddy of mine who has continuously come through and supported us and done a bunch of preview shows with us. Well, guys, guess what? We're doing yet another one for the biggest game of the entire year, the Super Bowl. So stay tuned for that. But guys, they took the media stands yesterday, and we had some major news, major funny moments. There were some great one-liners, some great, things that happened at the podium from Sam Darnold, from JSN, from Coach Mike McDonald, from Coach Mike Vrabel, from Drake May, just around the entire teams of both of those. But I think the greatest moment from yesterday's media day before the Super Bowl kicks off here on Sunday was Blitz the Seahawk. Blitz the Seahawk is, of course, the mascot of the Seattle Seahawks, represents all of the 12th man as one of the crazed mascots in all of sports. But just after Sam Darnold hopped off the podium, Blitz the Seahawk steps right up and hits the mic. It was awesome. Of course, no mascot has ever talked, and it was amazing to hear them, to not even hear him, just to see him sit up there kind of with his hands behind his head, just chilling. It was an awesome moment. But we got some superstitions coming from the Super Bowl. It was absolutely awesome because I am a superstitious person when it comes to Georgia football, Georgia basketball, many Georgia sports. I am repping the same outfit. I have my lucky socks, my lucky underwear. I'm a left sock first, then right sock, then left shoe, then right shoe. But somebody asked Drake May and Sam Darnold this to see what their superstitions were. And Drake May is a right shoe first guy. Craziness. And Darnold is a left shoe first guy. I have to agree with Sam Darnold on the left shoe first. I don't know about y'all, but I want to hear in the comments, are you a left shoe or a right shoe first type of dude? Is it a superstition or is it just a creature of habit? We shall see. But some more news around the NFL outside of the Super Bowl. The mock drafts are dropping. Everybody has their draft order minus the Seahawks and Patriots. Those 31st and 32nd spots in the NFL draft are up for grabs depending on who wins come Sunday. But I want to go through some of the steals that I saw on ESPN's latest mock draft that they dropped earlier today. At 31st to the Patriots, Cashius Howell, the defensive end transfer, edge rusher of Texas A&M. He was a stud this year, was a finalist for the Bronco Nagurski Award, the nation's best and most outstanding defensive player. He was a stud. I had the chance to meet him at the Bronco Nagurski ceremony in Charlotte, North Carolina. He's an awesome dude, pleasure to be around, a great person to have in your locker room. But what all of these fan bases really care about is how he's going to perform on the field. And let me tell you, ladies and gentlemen, he has to be a great player, especially on this Patriots team that has an already stout defense. Like, I think he will be fit right in. He's kind of a plug and play type of dude. You've got the pressure taken off of what would be a rookie season for Cashius Howell next year because of how dominant that defense is. And I think Cashius Howell would be a perfect fit in New England. I think that'd be an all-time pickup, an all-time steal here in the latest mock draft that ESPN has just conjured up. Then coming in at 35th, 36th, and 37th, we've got three straight steals in my eyes. At 35th, Caden Proctor to the Titans. Entering the season, Caden Proctor was one of those hot commodities, was one of those guys that every single NFL team was talking about on their hot boards. One of the guys that was imagined to go in the top 10, potentially top 5, and maybe because of injury, maybe because of a down year at Alabama this year, Caden Proctor drops all the way to 35th in the second round to the Titans. The Titans desperately need an offensive line to protect Cam Ward, and I think Caden Proctor would be a big-time start at getting toward protecting Cam Ward. I think Proctor, although he had a down year at Alabama, although he has had some injuries, he's still a stud. He is one of the most massive human beings that I have ever seen in person. Yes, I saw him in person when Alabama came to town earlier in the college football season to play Georgia in Sanford Stadium. And then I saw him yet again in the SEC Championship later in Atlanta come December. Caden Proctor, guys, I always go back to that screen pass he had against Georgia when Ty Simpson dished it out to him and Buddy took off. He looked like a freight train, and it was a scary sight. He is a massive human being, a huge human being, and I think he would be a great fit in Tennessee. Of course, it's not like the Cashius Howell situation where you go to New England and you're kind of a plug-and-play dude because you have so many stout defenders around you. Here in Tennessee, Caden Proctor would go to the Titans, and he'd be immediately relied upon as a leader in the locker room, a leader on the offensive line because of his prowess and his play style. So it'd be a lot more pressure. However, I still think the Titans desperately need that offensive lineman, and Caden Proctor would be a hell of a start in the second round for them to get Caden Proctor with the 35th overall pick. Then at 36th, we've got Akeem Mesidor to the Raiders. Akeem Mesidor, as we well know, just played in a national championship, had a hell of a run through the college football playoff with the Miami Hurricanes. Ruben Bain got a lot of the attention on that Miami defensive front, but Akeem Mesidor is an absolute stud. He's a freak of nature. Those two dudes were NFL ready going into the playoffs. I mean, they are studs and have been all season long. Akeem Mesidor, I think, honestly might have even more upside than Ruben Bain. I think we're getting closer to Ruben Bain's ceiling. Have we tapped it? No, not yet, of course. But I really think Akeem Mesidor has that twitch. He has that edge off the side that is just some closing in speed. He can shut down any run that bounces outside. He can get to the quarterback. Akeem Mesidor at 36th overall to the Raiders would be a big-time pickup for Las Vegas. Then at 37th, D'Angelo Pons to the Giants. I tweeted this out during the national championship. I think D'Angelo Pons is a first-round guy. I think he is the most talented cornerback in this draft. He had a hell of a season at Indiana this year. Of course, the pick six on the opening play against Oregon in the Peach Bowl in this college football playoff semifinal. What a massive play. What a massive moment. It was all downhill from there for the Oregon Ducks. I mean, Indiana just owned that game, but it all started with D'Angelo Pons. You then get to the Miami National Championship, and he's a lockdown corner. He's governed guys like Malachi Toney, who has been the most outstanding freshman in all of 2025. He shuts him down for the most part. I think D'Angelo Pons is a hell of a corner, and he would be going to the Giants at 37th. I think that would be an awesome pickup. The Giants need those defenders on the outside in their secondary, and I think D'Angelo Pons is a great start for the Giants in the second round as well. 46, got to shout out my dogs in this draft, their projections. At 46, you've got the Bucks picking, and this mock draft has CJ Allen going to the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. How sweet would that be to see a Georgia Bulldog in Tampa Bay? I think it'd be awesome. But CJ Allen, what stands out to me the most about CJ is his leadership in the locker room. He's been a guy that has been a starter since his freshman year in Athens. Jamon Dumas-Johnson was the middle linebacker. He was the quarterback of that defense. He goes down with a shoulder injury. CJ Allen steps in as a true freshman and quarterbacks that defense. He's got guys like Smile Mondon next to him, who is a Philadelphia Eagle now, and he was leaned on as the quarterback of that defense, the leader of that room and the leader of that locker room. You go into last year, he's got all this preseason hype into his sophomore season, the 2024 campaign, and he maybe underperformed. This year he comes out. Georgia doesn't have the best defense. The rest of the defense gets their feet underneath them. Come Texas, come Mississippi State, those latter weekends in the college football season. And CJ Allen is largely in part due to the success of the Georgia defense throughout the year. Even when Georgia's defense wasn't shutting down opponents, CJ was kind of the promising star on that Georgia defense in the middle linebacker room. So I think CJ Allen, his leadership is definitely a positive. And him falling all the way to 46, I've seen mock drafts with him as high as a first rounder. So him dropping to 46 would be an all-time steal for Tampa Bay as well. And then at 61st, another linebacker in Jacob Rodriguez to the Rams. I love this pick. The Rams are obviously an excellent team, an excellent playoff contending team, a Super Bowl contending team. They were just a few plays away from being in the Super Bowl this week, but they need some linebackers in that room. That front line is really, really strong. Jared Verse leads the way, of course, but Jacob Rodriguez would be a plug-and-play type of dude. He's been the leader of that Texas Tech locker room. He's been in the Texas Tech system. When they have all of these transfers coming in, Joey McGuire brings in a quadruple billion-dollar roster. Jacob Rodriguez was the guy that had been in Lubbock, Texas. He was the guy that was kind of the rock behind that defense. Jacob Rodriguez is an all-time person as well. Much like I met Cashius Howell at the Bronco Nagurski ceremony in Charlotte, I met Jacob Rodriguez. I talked to him. I talked to his wife. What a story that is. His wife is a pilot in the Army on Black Hawk helicopters. I told her and Jacob that she is probably more of the badass in their family. You can't argue with me, but Jacob Rodriguez is still a badass himself. He loves his wife. He is an excellent person. He would be a leader in that locker room. I think he's a plug-and-play guy, especially in L.A. L.A. is such a strong franchise with such a strong coaching staff. I would love to see Jacob Rodriguez with the Rams and underneath Sean McVay. I know McVay's an offensive guy, but obviously, those defenses of the LA Rams have been quite stout as of recent. Then, other news in the NFL, we've got some Hall of Fame snubs. We talked about it earlier this week. Bill Belichick is snubbed from the Hall of Fame. But then his longtime owner of the New England Patriots, Bob Kraft, snubbed as well. Craziness from New England. And I've got a few questions about this from the Mailbag segment, so we're going to get into them. But what is it that is causing these Patriots to be left out of their first ballot Hall of Fame bids? I really don't know. Is it the controversy? Is it the Deflate Gate? Is it Spygate? Is it Robert Kraft going to a masseuse and you know what happens next? I don't know. I really don't. That's got to be somewhat of a reason to cause it. I don't know how you leave out Bill Belichick when he's the third winningest coach of all time, the most playoff wins of all time, the most Super Bowls of all time among one head coach. How you leave him out, but how you leave his owner out. His owner, Robert Kraft, has more Super Bowl appearances as an owner in his 32 years of owning the New England Patriots than any other owner. He's got more playoff wins, more playoff appearances. He has more regular season wins. He's got everything you can ask for a first ballot Hall of Fame owner, and he is snubbed. Absolutely befuddles me. I cannot understand it. But this was the main mailbag question that I wanted to get to. Does this affect Tom Brady and his first ballot Hall of Fame bid? The way the trend is going, it seems like Tom Brady might have troubles getting in the Hall of Fame on his first overall and his first ballot. I don't know how, because he's the greatest of all time. He's the greatest football player to ever play the game. He has 7 Super Bowls, 6 with New England, 1 with Tampa Bay. He is unbelievable, but I truly think this is going to affect him. If the controversy is keeping Kraft and Belichick out, then how is it not supposed to keep Brady out? I don't know. It just behooves me, and I'm really interested to see once we get to that mark when Tom Brady is eligible to go into the Hall of Fame. Will these scandals behind the scenes affect Tom Brady's Hall of Fame candidacy on his first ballot try? Last 2 things I want to talk about in the NFL. A.J. Brown, is he out in Philly? Is he staying in Philly? A lot of people have been talking about on major sports networks, talk shows in the morning, during the night, whatever it is, about how A.J. Brown needs to get out of Philly because he's not pleased. Well, if I'm a Philly fan, I don't want A.J. Brown in Philly. He's done great for you. He's won you a Super Bowl. He's taken you to another as a leading receiver, as the star receiver in that wide receiver room. But the way he acted later in the season and into the playoffs, I'm out. I don't want him on my team. I'm just saying, Sirianni, he's my guy. I'm sticking with Sirianni because he's the coach that got me to the Super Bowl, got me that Super Bowl ring. A.J. Brown was just a role player on that team. Yes, he's the star wide receiver, but he's not the head coach, and he's not listening to the head coach. He's yelling with the head coach on the sidelines. I am out on A.J. Brown in Philly if I'm a Philly fan. I don't want him there. Now, I know if you're A.J. Brown, you probably want out too. So I'm good riddance. Don't let the door hit you on the way out. Thanks for everything you've done here in Philadelphia, but it's time to move on. It's time to get the next guy in. It's time for Philly to take their next step and start this new era, if you will, in the wide receiver room without A.J. Brown there. So that's my hot take on what is going on in Philadelphia with the Eagles right now and A.J. Brown. The last thing I want to touch on in the NFL is the mention markets. I found this today on Twitter and on the ESPN app. $41 million bet on what announcers have been saying during NFL broadcast. That is absolutely astounding to me because the mention markets is what it's called. The mention markets are dominating sports books in regard to NFL betting. Crazy. So during this Super Bowl, we are expected to see an exorbitant amount of money, upwards of $3 to $4 million bet on just what the announcers say during the Super Bowl. Thought that was a crazy stat. Thought I had to share it with you. So wanted to talk about the mention markets in the betting game right now in regard to the NFL. Pause for a quick sip of water. Having a little scruff in the throat with this cold weather, so I got to keep it fresh as we keep talking because it is my job to talk. I want to talk about my friends at Subaru. Speaking of talking, Hughes Subaru right here in Athens. They gave me my second car I've ever had, a Hughes Subaru Outback 2019. It has been the greatest car. I've told this story a few times, I believe, but I hit a deer a couple of weeks ago, about a month ago, over Christmas break, and I was coming back to Athens from Carrollton, Georgia, hit the deer. It bust my hood, it bust the front bumper, it bust the side panel, and it bust my radiator. Well, I take it to Hughes Subaru, and guess what they do? They get it back to me within the week. Much like First American, the people at Hughes Subaru are the absolute best. They are of the utmost highest performing service individuals in all of car mechanics and all of service in general, whether electricians, plumbers, car mechanics, bankers. Subaru has some of the best people there at Hughes Subaru right here in Athens. So if you're in the market for a car or you have a Subaru or whatever, go to Hughes Subaru, visit their website, check out their deals on the MSRP, check out all that good stuff. Hughes Subaru has some great stuff in. The Subaru market is booming, and their service, of course, at Hughes Subaru is second to none. But let's talk about the NBA. The trade deadline is dominating rumors right now. I've been talking about a few guys that have been swirling among trade packages, trade deals. Ja Morant, we talked about last week. Yesterday, we talked about Giannis Antetokounmpo, but now a new name has surfaced according to Shams of the ESPN. James Harden. James Harden has entered the trade conversations. He is not happy with the Clippers, even though he is averaging 25.4 points per game, 8.1 assists per game, and he's still not happy. So the first question I beg of you that Kendrick Perkins brought to my attention this morning on Get Up ESPN was, what the hell is going on in LA? What the hell is going on with the Clippers? They're just clipping right now, is what Kendrick Perkins said. I can't believe it, because you have a guy in James Harden that is averaging over 25 points per game, over 8 assists per game, and he's still not happy. Yes, James Harden has had his problems in locker rooms at various locations across the NBA. But how in the world can you not keep this man happy when he is having his best season since 2019? Yes, 2019 was the next best season to this, when James Harden was performing at this high of a level. The Clippers are probably the hottest team in the NBA right now. They are playing out of their minds, and James Harden is a huge factor in what is going right for the Clippers right now. But where Kendrick Perkins went too far is he said he wants James Harden out of LA. He wants him in a Cavs jersey, and he wants him in a Cavs jersey so he can be happy, and he immediately thinks the Cavs become title contenders with James Harden on the floor in Cleveland. I have to pump the brakes right there. Do I really care if he's in LA or if he's in Cleveland? Not one bit. I don't give a rat's ass, to be quite frank. What I do care about is the fact that Kendrick Perkins think the Cavs would be an immediate title contender with James Harden. That's where I'm scratching my head. I'm scratching my head because James Harden, yeah, he hasn't missed a playoff in all 14 years of his NBA career. He's been to one finals in 2012 with the Oklahoma City Thunder, when Kevin Durant and Russell Westbrook were the stars of the show, alongside Kendrick Perkins was on that team. So obviously Perkins has a little bias toward James Harden. I don't understand why he thinks they become title contenders because of James Harden's problems late in the playoffs. When he gets late into a series, he struggles in efficiency. So I want to read you off a few stats. He averages 24.2 in games 1 through 4 of a playoff series. Pretty fair. Then he drops to 21.1 points per game in games 5 through 7. And in game 7s alone, he averages just 19 points per game. As the series goes on, as the moments get bigger, James Harden pisses down his leg. He has been known to do this. This is the major problem of James Harden's career, is that he can't perform in the late game series of playoff series. I just don't think the Cavs become a title contender like Kendrick Perkins think just because James Harden gets traded to Cleveland. But I will say this. James Harden has had a hell of a year. He is in the best shape of his career and that we've seen in quite a while. He is performing at a higher level than he has in the recent years. He seems like he's found a home in LA. And I don't understand what LA is doing to piss him off, because he is requesting a trade and the Clippers are exploring options. But I want to bring up one more playoff stat for you. What James Harden has done in the playoffs. 34 games of his 173 playoff appearances, he has finished the game with 3 or fewer made baskets. In 54 playoff games of his 173 appearances in the playoffs, he has finished with 4 or fewer baskets made. So, I'm just saying, when the moment gets big, James Harden pisses down his leg. I do not think if James Harden ends up in Cleveland, Cleveland automatically becomes a title contender. I'm not buying what Kendrick Perkins is smoking right now. Finally, let's talk about Giannis. Giannis is probably the headline blockbuster trade that could happen. However, according to the betting markets, he is still plus 125, the highest odds to end up back in Milwaukee. The next highest odds, who we didn't even talk about yesterday when we discussed Giannis, we were talking about the Heat and the Warriors and the Knicks and the Timberwolves. But the next highest odds behind Milwaukee is Chicago. Now, how fun would that be to get Giannis in Chicago with the Bulls, with that franchise, he would obviously be happy because he's not having to move far away. There's been rumors that he might even stay in Milwaukee and commute to Chicago. I think that's crazy, but still, Chicago, I think, a fun spot for Giannis to land. However, if he's ring chasing, Chicago's not the place to be. If he's ring chasing, maybe pair up with Steph in Golden State. Maybe he gets Steph that fifth ring. Maybe put Steph above LeBron in terms of ring rankings. Maybe go to Minnesota and just ball out with Anthony Edwards, the young superstar in the NBA. So even though Giannis is on the trading block and there's rumors swirling, we've got less than 48 hours until the trade deadline closes, but he's still plus 125, the highest odds to end up back in Milwaukee. All right, baseball. Got to talk some baseball. The MLB is 51 days away. It's that fun time of year when we're getting to see all about the hot prospects, the top 100 players in the MLB. Spring training is about to kick up. There's been some trades this offseason. We're excited to see who ends up where or who has ended up where and how they will perform on their new teams. It's a fun time in the MLB, but man, I can't wait for them to take the field, take the diamond for America's pastime on opening day. Going to a Braves game in the middle of summer when you got nothing else to do is one of the most fun things you can do in sports. Just when absolutely nothing's going on and you are begging for some type of ball to be thrown, for some type of ball to be caught, go to a baseball game. The MLB is just 51 days away, ladies and gentlemen. Get fired up for America's pastime. But what's even closer? My second favorite sport, just behind college football of all time, college baseball. College baseball is 10 days away. Yes, ma'am, you heard that right. Opening day is 10 days away. Saw an interesting ranking that came out from our good friends at Pencil Talk, Jack DeLong Champs, as I like to call him. He, alongside some other networks, put out the WAR leaderboard according to each roster's depth and WAR entering the 2026 season. And for my Georgia Bulldogs tuning in right now, your Georgia Bulldogs are number one in WAR according to the rankings of Pencil Talk and a few other networks from our good friend Jack DeLong Champ. So number one, Georgia. Number two, Mississippi State. Number three, Texas. Four, Georgia Tech. Five, UCLA. Six, LSU. Seven, Auburn. Eight, Bama. 9, TCU. And 10, Wake Forest. 6 SEC teams lead roster rankings in WAR. College baseball is upon us, ladies and gentlemen, and I announced it a few days ago, but the Hammy Show is hitting the road in a few weeks to go to Clemson and Army, teeing it up in Clemson, South Carolina. We will be there. We will be bringing you all of the content you can imagine, and that is all thanks to Hughes Subaru, who is powering the Hammy Show on the road. Wouldn't be able to get there without them and my 2019 Outback from Hughes Subaru. So college baseball, my friends, it is upon us, and I could not be more amped up about some college ball back in our lives. Thank goodness. All right, another fun segment we are doing on social media, on TikTok, on Instagram. We're live on those two platforms right now. We're recording for YouTube, but something we're doing, just posting every single day, is the Athlete of the Day presented by the Vinyl Frontier. The Vinyl Frontier is the greatest record store in all of America, right in Carrollton, Georgia, just off of I-20. If you're ever passing through, stop by the Vinyl Frontier. Ladies and gentlemen, it's amazing. It is so fun to walk in. And I keep telling you, it is all about the experience. Going into a record store, pulling out your favorite record, seeing if you want to buy it on vinyl, putting it on the 8-track, listening to it in the shop, talking it up with the guys at the desk. It's amazing. Everybody in there knows everything about music. You will not be disappointed. Plus, they have every record you could ever imagine. But if you can't make it to Carrollton, Georgia, if you're not going down I-20 and passing through the City of Dreams, then visit their website, thevinylfrontier.com, and you can find any record you could ever imagine from them. So, our Athlete of the Day, presented by the Vinyl Frontier, is none other than Joakim Noah. We're dropping the video here shortly, but Joakim Noah, a legend of Chicago. We were talking about Giannis in and up in Chicago, but before there was Giannis, there was Joakim Noah. He was the absolute weapon of the Chicago Bulls. What a run Chicago went on with him, Derrick Rose, those guys in the early 20 teens. Joakim Noah, What a beast. Just an absolute class act on and off the court as well. Pumped to get that video out for all of you to tune into it. And stay tuned for more of our Athlete of the Days coming out every single day, presented by the Vinyl Frontier. Winter Olympics, 3 days away. Opening ceremonies this Friday. Lindsey Vonn hit the podium today at a press conference, and she said, despite absolutely rupturing her ACL entirely, she is good to go. She said, my chances aren't what they were before the crash, but my chances are still there. There still is a chance that I can win this thing. So Lindsey Vonn in her 5th ever Winter Olympics, her 5th and final Winter Olympics, she has that brutal crash a few days ago, getting ready for the Winter Olympics, but she is still competing. What a legend Lindsey Vonn is on the alpine skiing. On the women's side, Lindsey Vonn, prayers up to you. Please stay healthy and please win gold for these United States of America. USA on the hockey side, Team USA is plus 175 to win gold. They have the second highest odds, just behind Canada at plus 125. Ladies and gentlemen, this would be the first time since 1980, since the Miracle on Ice, since Lake Placid, that Team USA will have won a gold medal. This Team USA is primed to make a gold medal run. Canada stands in their way with Connor McDavid, but ladies and gentlemen, this team is willing to go the distance. This team almost got and went the distance in the Four Nations a year ago. But this team, they've got a chip on their shoulder. This team is ready to go the distance. They are ready to win gold. I am absolutely fired up for the Winter Olympics, and especially hockey, with the United States of America having a chance to claim gold for the first time since 1980. I watched Miracle last night. Legendary movie. Just absolutely awesome. The scene in Lake Placid, the USA chants in that game, Al Michaels on the call. Oh, it's the greatest, one of the greatest sports movies of all time, arguably the greatest story in sports of all time. A bunch of college kids from Boston University and Minnesota beat the greatest hockey team ever assembled, and that is the Soviet Union. So, ladies and gentlemen, we could see gold again coming back to the United States on the hockey front here at the Winter Olympics in just 3 days. But let's talk about the bet of the day, and then we're going to hop into these comments. We've got a few here on the Instagram and TikTok lives. Bet of the day. Let me take a sip of water. Yeah, that's good stuff right there. Nothing like a little H2O. Bet of the day. We are 1-1 thus far on the Daily Ham. I'm going to go ahead and say it. Put a future on Team USA to win the gold. I know that's not just a today thing, but before hockey drops puck in the Winter Olympics, bet on Team USA at plus 175. Those odds might fluctuate before now and then, but put money on the U.S. to win the gold at the Winter Olympics in hockey. But we're talking about today. I'm going to give you two today because I couldn't really decide between the two. We've talked about a few of these teams. Excuse me. But we're talking NBA. We're going NBA on both picks. In the NBA, Luka Doncic and the Lakers are favored by 8.5 over the Nets. The Nets are an abysmal franchise, an abysmal team this year. So put money on the Lakers at minus 8.5. We love the Lakers tonight. They're coming on a 5-game win streak into this game. So we could see the Lakers dominate. I think they get the big-time win over the Nets tonight. Then the Bulls minus 2.5 over the Bucks. We love it. We love it because of the Milwaukee trade news with Giannis to maybe the Bulls. That's the next best odds for him to end up after this trade deadline. I think there's a little revenge aspect. I think there's a little, hey, Giannis, why don't you come on over here to the Windy City? Why don't you come on over here to Chicago? So I'm taking the Bulls to beat the Bucks by more than 2.5 points tonight. Tune in, ladies and gentlemen. Those are your two bets of the day. And, of course, a future on Team USA to win gold at the Winter Olympics. All right, let's get into the mailbag before we wrap this thing up. For Hammy, what is your reaction to the Command Spell commitment? I'm really excited about it, and I think if he signs with Georgia, he'll be one of the best running backs to come out of UGA. We talked about this a little bit yesterday. Come on Spell is one of those guys that you get super amped up about. I went through kind of the history of the recent RBU running backs that have come through Athens and come through the University of Georgia. Of course, you go back to Nick Chubb and Sony Michel in that 2017 year, taking us all the way to the national championship. Both have stellar NFL careers. Sony Michel wins 2 Super Bowls. Nick Chubb still playing despite all of the injuries. And then you go after him to DeAndre Swift. DeAndre Swift balling out with the Bears right now. He's had great stints with the Lions and the Eagles before ending up in Chicago. He's been a great back in the NFL. RBU is not dead, but it took a little bit of a hiatus, if you will. We had some great backs. We had some national championships in there, but we didn't have those type of dudes like Nick Chubb and Sony Michel or DeAndre Swift. We had James Cook, who has had an exciting NFL career thus far with Buffalo. And then we had Zamir White and Kenny McIntosh, 2 great backs as well. Kendall Milton, another good one. Dejan Edwards, another good one. But there wasn't that great one that we've had, like a Nick Chubb and a Sony Michel. Nate Frazier has that potential. Chauncey Bowens might even be the thunder to Nate Frazier's lightning. Cash Jones has been great out of the backfield, but like I said, we haven't had that just game winner, game wrecker type of running back like we did in Nick Chubb and Sony Michel. I think Come On Spell can be that guy. I am super stoked about him, but once again, I am the biggest proponent in the recruiting world of I do not believe they will play for your university until not even their name is signed on the dotted line, until I see them in the spring game, to be quite honest. Until I see them with a Georgia helmet on in Sanford Stadium, and we don't even know if we get the spring game anymore. So until we see them come September or late August, I don't believe a recruit is playing for us. That's just how the world of college football is. That's how the world of the NIL and the transfer portal is. So I don't understand what is going on in college football. However, I'm not buying all of the hype that Come On Spell is definitely a Georgia Bulldog. I'm super encouraged, super confident that he will be, but I am not all the way convinced, if you know what I mean. Guys, I think we might have had one more. I think it was about Come On Spell as well. Yeah, that's it. That is it on the comment section tonight. That does it for us on the Daily Ham, episode 4. Thanks so much for tuning in, guys. This has been a super fun segment that we've added. We're trying to keep it quick and easy, talk all things sports around this crazy world of sports. And we're trying to keep it quick and easy. You can listen to this on your commute to work every single morning, on your commute back from work, back to home. So, guys, stay tuned on the Daily Ham. We've got episode 5 coming to you live tomorrow at 6 p.m. It has been such a joy to talk sports with you all, to talk live, of course, and then we've got it recorded for YouTube, Spotify, Apple Music, any of your listening platforms to come out later tonight. So stay tuned. We're going to have a bunch of stuff pouring out on social media. Follow us at @the_Hammy Show on Instagram, at The Hammy Show, _, on TikTok and on Twitter. The Hammy Show here on YouTube. Hit that subscribe button. We really appreciate it. But that does it for me, guys. This is the Hammy Show presented by First American Bank and Trust. And this is the Daily Ham, episode 4. All right. Peace out. Ham it up.